Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Ohio State Call-In Show. I'm your co-host, Ryan Stano.
I'm Garrison Gaddy.
Garrison, I know I wasn't here on Monday. We had some unfortunate stuff
Mhm.
pop up. So it was a really annoying evening for me. But before we get started, just wanted to give a shout out to all the members who've joined the channel. Thank you guys for being able to donate some money here to help us grow this channel and able to, that allows us to give you all of the content exclusive, the member exclusive content that we've been able to churn out here, and we will be continuing to do so in the fall as well. So if you're so inclined to go ahead and give us, a small donation, that'd be much appreciated. We'll have the membership scrolling on the screen here throughout the show to show what the different levels are here as well. I'm going to go ahead and drop in the call-in link here to the chat. That way you guys can go ahead and join us. But before we start taking some calls, obviously there was some big news in the world of college football that kind of dropped really late last night and has spilled over into today. And that's the new proposed bill that the government has for really the state of all of college sports. And there's a lot in there. I don't know how much you have been able to kind of look and parse through, all the information that's coming through. But yeah, you're pulling up Ross Dellinger. He's been on it and he's been doing a
Yeah.
good job giving kind of wide swaths of what's going on. It's a lot. Go ahead.
I first off, let me say that I completely am behind this bill. I really am. Last night I posted about it. I think what was good about this bill is that it has safeguards for the programs, the students, or student athletes, specifically in football. No talks about in there, and also not having I think it said right now agents take between 10 and 20%. They wouldn't let agents take more than 5%. That's what they will cap it off. I think that's good for the player because then they're keeping most of their money. Also, and like I'm gonna call TJ today because I asked him. I said, "Well, what?" I was crying about it. So it was ironic that I supported it. I said, "Well, tell me what's wrong about the bill." And I still haven't got anything yet because he talked about how having the tutors and all that academic assistance, and it's like I said, all the schools already have that. Yeah, but do you think student athletes take it all the time? Do you think they're being held responsible all the time to do so? And also, there's just nothing bad about putting money into that. I don't see what the issue is on that.
Well, I can tell you probably why he's crying is because part of it is now there are going to be certain safeguards when it comes to the NIL
Spending.
money and how it's
Yeah.
and how it's distributed. So this bill, there's a lot in this bill. So I'm just going to hit a few highlights, and we can talk a little bit in greater depth here. So the bill caps NIL at the certain levels that were negotiated at the House settlement, and that includes all NIL. So there's no necessarily outside NIL collectives that would be used anymore to help fund some of these deals. And we're actually already seeing that now with the NIL Go. They're actually denying almost 100% of the NIL deals that are being funded by collectives. So, he's worried about that Bryce Underwood check isn't going to clear. That's what he's worried about. And that's what I'd be worried about if I were a Michigan fan as well. But that's just one part of the bill. Another part of the bill, which I do think is a good thing, and you kind of alluded to it, that the scholarships for players will not be able to be taken away for injury or for performance under this bill. So if you've got a scholarship going in, you're going to be able to keep that scholarship, even if you don't necessarily play for the team. That way you can still get all your schooling paid for, still get your education, which I think is good for all of the athletes involved. This bill is also dictated on the fact that you need to have at least 16 sports at the FBS, which means, a lot of these Olympic sports that people were afraid were going to get cut, that kind of prevents them from doing that. I think that's a really good thing. I know Ross Bjork already talked about having a commitment to keeping all 36 varsity sports at Ohio State. So I think that's a great part of this bill. I'm sure you also support that as well.
Well, Ryan, when we talked last time we talked,
Mm-hmm.
and I said we should have confidence in what's going on at Ohio State. And then this comes out, not to mention, did you see that post about how many of the deals haven't cleared yet and have been sent back?
Yeah, it's like almost 100% of the NIL collected deals.
I'm trying to tell you, and I'm going to say it again. You called it coping last week. Trust in the process at Ohio State and trust that everything that's going down from the top to the bottom is done correctly and that we are going to benefit at the end of this. I believe that if we were to check, if we had a list of every deal that got rescinded, I bet you Ohio State's on none of those. I bet you there's not one deal on there. And it's because, like I said last time, we consolidated. We did everything, and so did Georgia. And if Ohio State and Georgia are doing the same thing, I don't think you should be upset.
I still think there's some other things, and we can get to that later in the show as far as that goes. But what's interesting to me is the fact that Dellinger, who's been on this for Yahoo Sports, he seems to think that it's not going to be this bill has still got hurdles to pass because apparently this is while it was a bipartisan bill, there are apparently a lot more Republicans who are interested in passing it than are
63 to 7 or 53 to 7.
Yeah, 60 votes to get passed.
Yeah,
it's hard enough for politicians to work together with normal stuff. So, I'm kind of in a wait and see moment with this bill to see what happens and see if Ohio State needs to make any adjustments, if they do at all. But I wonder, some of the recruits Ohio State's been losing out on recently, specifically Felix Ojo. I wonder how he feels about something like this, where he just got a bag dropped in front of him from Texas Tech. I bet you that NIL deal doesn't clear. Because another part of the bill is the NIL has to be used as a legitimate business purpose. So they can't just, there's no scenario where there's a pay for play. You actually have to render some sort of identifiable service to the business, and they have to be able to report that or show that in order to get your NIL deal approved. And there's one other thing that I want to talk to you about that I found very interesting because it actually affects Ohio State kind of right away. There is a provision in the bill that basically says that if a school has a specific contract with a company and that supersedes any other deal that an athlete makes. And the specific example that Dellinger even used was, say there is a Nike school that requires all of their athletes to wear Nike apparel. That supersedes any deal that basically makes any NIL deal null and void with a competitive company, aka Jeremiah Smith signing a big deal with Adidas. Well, I found that one interesting.
Well, not just him. Chris Henry Jr. too. He signed with Adidas. Yep. So no, I mean, that works in Ohio State's fair. Hey, listen, man. I told you to trust in them, and you didn't want to hear me out. You didn't want to believe me, but do you feel more confident now after you see all this?
No, because I have no confidence that it's going to actually pass. Okay. And if it does, you know how slowly these things take to get into effect? The government moves at a glacial pace. So they're even worse than the NCAA.
And I don't think this should be politicized, but I understand why they're trying to get it done. Again, I really wish we didn't have a committee. I wish we had a president, a vice president of college football. That would make it much easier.
Well, that's what the College Sports Commission's supposed to help.
But,
I mean, that's also
just give it to Nick. Just give it to Nick Saban, man. Let him. Just give it to Big Daddy Saban.
Anything else you wanted to hit about this bill before bringing our first caller?
No, just bring Caden.
All right, I'll go ahead and bring him in. What's going on, Caden?
Not much with you fellas. Just got home from a big day of just running truck for my friend over yonder. Heard y'all were going early, so I figured I'd pop on in since I got off work early. But how y'all doing?
Gravy, Ben.
Doing
You?
good.
Sometimes I just feel like I'm an old man in a young man's body. But unfortunately, that's just kind of the case sometimes.
Nah, man. That's when you drink Mountain Dew, man. That's what happens.
It's not just Mountain Dew. It's that dang coffee. It's that dang coffee I drink sometimes that I drink, but nah, it ain't too bad.
Do you drink
What
Red
do you
Bull
got
too?
for us today?
No, I
Okay.
don't drink Red Bull. I just drink coffee.
What do you
what's
got
going
for
on?
us here?
First of all, with the whole shenanigans of Chris Henry Jr. and Jaron Smith signing to Adidas, I honestly just think college football has gone from the athletes can do certain things and sign certain things, and now it's going to go where it's like the NFL. If you don't like Nike products, you can go with Adidas products. If you don't like Adidas products, you can go with Under Armour products. I mean, what's the big deal with why does anybody have to do that? Like, honestly, if you go to a Nike school and you're getting your free $3,000 worth of gear and crap, just take it. I mean, they're giving you free gear. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I think a lot of this stuff, if the bill even does pass, there'll probably be some legal challenges to the bill, kind of as there already has been. At least they're trying to with the House settlement that happened. So there's gonna be a bunch of legal fights before anything gets figured out, and then we'll see if there's gonna be collective bargaining, and that's a whole nother issue whether they're gonna try to make players employees, what I think is what a lot of Democrats want, which is maybe why they're not throwing their support behind this bill to get it passed. So there's a whole lot of crap that needs to be figured out before anything is signed, sealed, and delivered. And I don't think that I have no faith that this bill is going to impact this upcoming college football season at all.
It'll be a few
I don't
years.
know what you think,
Well,
Harrison. I don't know what you think on that.
It'll be a few years. I think it'll be a maybe a year and a half till we actually see something come of it.
Probably.
Unless you can really get the votes from the right, it's gonna be really hard for the Democrats to like pass the bill. And usually, I mean, I don't care for people to know which way I lean, but like this is something that I do support from the left. Like, I support this from the Democrats, and I think that it should get passed. But you're not gonna get it right now because it's so like I think it's 53 or 67. So
Well, right now, I think it's actually the majority of Republicans who want to pass. As
yeah,
opposed to
that's what I'm saying. Like it's
They
gonna be
need
hard.
help.
It's
Yeah,
gonna
they
be
need help
hard.
from the
But then again, like we're just presuming that they don't support it. There's a very good chance that they do support it. So
well,
I
if
mean, it
these
just got
colleges are
introduced.
giving, well, if these colleges are giving these kids at least $4,000 or $5,000 worth of free gear every year, well, you
yeah,
think about it, they're wasting about at least $6,500 worth of shit. And honestly, as someone, and I talked to a friend of mine who played defensive lineman for a school, I mentioned this to him, and he's like, this is bullshit. This is bullshit what they're saying and what they're doing in the world of college football. Okay, it's supposed to be a sport where you had, young kids come to college. You offer them a good time scholarship to what college they want. If they don't feel like, okay, transferring, I was fine with that. But the whole deal of signing with Adidas, wait until the NFL. Then you can do whatever
why?
the hell you please.
But wait, are you not an advocate of NIL?
Honestly, no.
Why not?
It's just like, okay, I get they want to make some money, but at the same time, it's like, you know, okay, so if you're like Juju, you go to University of Michigan, you're at a Jordan Brand school. You get free Jordan Brand gear every year, and you're gonna be pumped about whatever shoe you get.
That ain't
And
got
it's like,
nothing to do with
okay,
it.
well, I get,
You know what I can't do with those Jordan shoes? I can't go to the store and buy anything with those Jordan shoes.
Right.
You can sell them and get something with those Jordan shoes, though.
Yeah, that's the extra step I don't feel like taking. And like that's just
No,
comes.
because it's a waste of money. It's a waste of money. And even somebody I know who drives truck, he was offered a full ride scholarship to play basketball at the University of Kentucky. And Coach Calipari was there at the time, and he went on a trip, and Coach Calipari sent him a whole bunch of basketball shoes and a whole bunch of free gear from their staff. And he had those.
You know what I can't do with that free gear, bro? I can't go buy a new car.
Right, but at the same time, it's like, and they involved, they had those Kobe, University of Kentucky Kobe's that are limited to only so many pairs, and he gave them to my best friend, and he resold them. He literally resold them, and he's like, "What am I gonna do with these dead gum things?" He's like, "Well, you can warm up in them." It's like, "Oh, forget about it." Sends that whole box back to Kentucky and resells it back to him and says, "I want 20 grand for all this." So Kentucky sends him 20 grand for it, and Coach Calipari hasn't called him ever since.
I think NIL is good for kids. I think how it's being distributed and how it is, how it's regulated, I think is the problem. And the problem was the NCAA didn't really put any safeguards on this. Like they knew this step was going to come. They knew it was coming, and they just kind of dug their heels in and tried to, nah, I'm not listening. They didn't want to accept that it was going to happen. And now we're in a spot where the U.S. government is coming in, super late to the deal, and they're having to clean up the NCAA's mess. So I think if there's anything to blame, I think it's the NCAA. I don't mind kids getting paid. Now there needs to be some sort of guardrails to make sure that it isn't the wild, wild west that it is right now. But unfortunately, now that it's kind of out there, it's kind of Pandora's box is open. It's kind of tough to close it at this point.
And you know what? I said it to TJ earlier today. If we're starting to treat these guys like they're semi-pros, right? And we see the game is going towards that way to more professional, but it's still student athletes, but more professional. Kind of like, I guess, an internship you could call it, honestly.
It is. It's a football internship. That's a good way to put it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When there's I'm sorry, and all these pro leagues from MLS to English Premier League to the NFL. Everything. Well, actually, no. MLS doesn't have it. I'm sorry. European soccer doesn't have it, and neither does MLB. No, those two sports don't have salary caps, but everybody else does, especially football. And in football, you need a salary cap because at the end of the day, you still have to protect yourself from the athlete, the program, aka the company or the organization, so to protect itself. So, so they talk about if you go over that, it's gonna be a fine. I think a program should get fined for going over the salary cap. So.
Yeah.
And I've been listening to y'all's conversations for the past 2 weeks, and I was sitting out in my truck by the cornfield of my buddies that was planted, the first one planted. And you know what? We were having this conversation, and I said, truthfully told, college football has gone from the world that we know, that we love, that has seen some of the greatest players to play the game. Now it's turned from that to a whole nother 9 yards of shit where now NIL's a deal. These schools are investing a whole lot of money. Michigan's gone to Jordan Brand, Florida, Oklahoma, Carolina. All these schools are funding all this money because of Nike and Jordan and then Adidas and then Under Armour. These kids are getting free gear that nobody else can get. And it's like, okay, well, you're just spoiling these kids because the previous guys who were there before them paid the way for these kids. That's respect. But also they got to pay tribute to these guys. And it's like they can't just walk into the program being like, oh, this is my house. Like, this is the house that, Hall of Famers built in your place. You got to understand that too. And now it's like, but here's the thing. It's that mentality that I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, you go to like Michigan, and they got Jordan Brand. Well, Jordan Brand, he only did it was because he started it with Carolina, his alma mater. And then, then it went from Carolina, then to Oklahoma, then everybody else that Jordan Brand went to. Nike was everywhere before, Nike and Adidas were everywhere before, Under Armour and Jordan Brand. But that's because they spent a lot of money and because they just want these kids to feel spoiled. But at the same time, you got to put regulations on these kids about how much money or who they sign with. Because if these schools are going to start having bankrupting issues. And then when they have bankrupting issues,
again, bro, I think that's why, that's going down the rabbit hole. I think at some point, that's why we have safeguards. That's how we have people in place to help these young guys. And these universities, the same way they have media training for these football athletes, or actually in basketball too. They're gonna have financial classes. I would assume they have those for these guys, and they have financial advisors. And they also have their families. Most of them do.
And personally, Garrison, I'm gonna just say this so you can perfectly understand this. I get they want to make money, but at the same time, understand this. The only reason you're making money is because college football is now, and especially basketball, they're trying to open up more opportunities for you kids while you are in college, although you're making a good amount of money, being at a specific college. But understand this. It's not an easy world to live in. And you know what? I tell people this. I chose the life to live outside of 15 cornfields than sitting in one of them damn apartments because it's a mess. It's a shithole. I mean, it's basically a student shit show on a Saturday night that you can't stop because they're making all this money complaining, whining. They're making all this money for no reason because all these colleges are sponsored by big brands. And I'm sitting back saying, what in the hell happened?
I'll say this. I don't begrudge anybody trying to make a better decision for their family as far as making as much money as possible. Like if you, Caden, or I, or Garrison wanted to switch professions because someone was offering me more money to go ahead and do that.
I'm a free market type of guy.
Yeah, I'm a freaking dude. You are worth.
Caden, I was just like you, bro. I was just like you. Not just a year ago, I was got in an argument with my best friend Bryce about it. Dude, at the end of the day, as long as there's safeguards for these young players, I'm happy. And
none of these college programs are going to listen to anybody on these programs whatsoever.
That's not true.
That's
entirely not true. That's entirely. We had to get. We got to do our reading, get to our caller, but that's entirely.
Yeah, I was about to say we got to get some other callers here. We appreciate you calling in, Caden. We got other guys here waiting on the line.
Well, y'all take it easy. Have a good night, and hope everything goes well for you fellas tonight.
You too, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Yep.
Before we bring, before we bring David, I was going to read some of these comments real quick. Shout out to Tree Dog. He says, "Oh shit, Penn State and Garrett at the same time." And some of the Michigan channels, right? They thought I was the Penn State person when I wasn't there. I was there to troll them with the Penn State. I was like, guys, but if I was going to do that, I'd be like Rutgers or something like that.
Well, I think part of that is, some of the other Penns. There was someone in here with the.
Oh, is that? No, that's what they thought I was.
That's come on.
We
talked about why there are some guardrails needed, but.
Oh man! And then I was going Jordan. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Go ahead.
Well, before we continue here. Whoa. Oh, sorry about that. I had the wrong one up. There we go. Get your business, product, service, or personal brand to the next level by partnering with the voice of college football. Let's discuss how you also can reach your target market. Check out the experience of one of our current partners, that being Win Agency, here posted on the screen, and we are here to deliver for you. contact us at sponsorships@vocfb.com. Again, that's sponsorships@vocfb.com today.
All right, let's go ahead and bring in our next caller here. What's going on,
Gentlemen,
David?
hi, how you doing
Doing
tonight?
good?
Hi,
Good,
how you guys? Good, excellent. Good to hear from you guys. Good to see you guys again. I was going to ask about the NIL. Is there a chance that they might go with a union if they make these players employees? I mean, they did try it, I believe, at Northwestern. I think in the past, wasn't that a few years ago? And it got
Yeah,
shot
they tried.
You
down.
got shot down quick.
But yeah,
So a key part of this bill
Yeah.
is actually it specifically names that college athletes would not be athletes or would not be employees. I'm sorry. So if this bill does go through, then there is no chance at unionization. There's no chance at collective bargaining. They would be designated as non-employees. Now that will probably end up getting challenged legally at some point down the road, and that's again, even if this bill were to pass in the first place. So that's where that kind of stands.
well, I mean, I'm very pro free market too. I mean, but I'm an employee of a company. You know what I mean? And you know, if you work for certain companies do have unions. Certain companies do not. We all know that. I mean, that's not new news. And you know, I do wonder. And this I say, yeah, is it too much to say that it's the NFL junior? I mean, some people just don't want to say the not so quiet part out loud, but sometimes you have to say the not so quiet part out loud, but it is. And some people are okay with it being the NFL junior. I mean, they think that college football is a misnomer. You know, it's that basically, and I will say though about the management of money though, I do wonder about that because one of the better 30 for 30s on ESPN was the broke special. Did you guys ever see that one? About how a certain percentage of athletes after a certain period of time in their money do lose it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And one of my arguments too, also with the free ride, you know, the fact that they're on scholarship and they do get to go to college is, I mean, what is statistically the average NFL career? Was it 3.5, 4 years, if I'm not mistaken?
It's just over 3 years. Yeah.
It's just over 3 years. So you got, you know, basically your entire 30s, late 20s, 30s to try to earn income. And my thought process is that if you're going to college and you got the free ride, that maybe, you know, getting something in that area. I mean, the thought process is that after the, you know, 5-year NFL career is up and you're 31 years old, maybe you could utilize what you went to college for to help you in a career path down the road. I mean, I don't think that's outside the realm of normality. I know things don't always work that way, but, you know, I don't know what you guys thought is on all of that, but.
Yeah. At least, you know, I want to go back to one of the first things you said as far as it being like the NFL light. I mean, that's essentially what it is, but no one's necessarily going to say that quiet part out loud because they're going to lose some of the old heads as far as college football fans are concerned. I mean, Caden had a lot of old head kind of thinking as far as college football.
Can we please define old head, by the way?
Okay, well,
I'm 32. I'm 32, and he's younger than me. That's
okay.
Yeah,
okay.
But basically just saying, like, you know, the people who are against NIL, people who are against, you know, a bunch of transfers. You know, the transfer portal was a flashpoint for a lot of people. So, you know, all of these things that are now being incorporated into college football and college sports in general, they're getting a lot of pushback from. But it is essentially the NFL light. And as far as, you know, the money goes, you know, you would think that some of these kids would have someone around them, you know, maybe their parents, who's able to help them kind of guide how to use that money and how to save so that they don't go broke, you know, like some of those people are, because, you know, some of these kids who are getting NIL money, they're not going to the NFL. Right. They might, you know, hell, there's 5-star recruits that don't go to the NFL. You know, they kind of fizzle out in college and they don't end up panning out. So I understand why these kids are taking, you know, this large amount of money that they can. I probably would too. Now it's just about making that money last. And, like you said, kind of, if they're not able to make, all of that money last, or depending on how much money they're getting from the NIL deals, making sure that they've got a degree that can help them kind of get, get some income there would be ideal. And I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Garrison. I know you pulled this up as far as some of the NIL deals that are clearing and that aren't.
Yeah. I was looking for this earlier. Just sorry, like David, can you remind me what exactly your question was, bud?
Well, I mean, my thought process was what I was talking about. Are we at the point where we should just call college football the NFL Junior?
Mm-hmm.
And the second part about that I was talking about is, well, it's actually kind of a three-part. That's first part. Second part is I mentioned the Broke special that the 30 for 30 did on ESPN about a high percentage of athletes that earn money after a certain amount of years, do go broke or do go bankrupt. I wonder how much of a concern that could be for some of these student athletes collecting an NIL dough. And then the third thing that I had mentioned is people talk about what they got as far as a free ride to a university, and I always said that was a financial benefit just for the simple fact that the average NFL career only lasts, he had just mentioned 3 years, I thought it was 3.5 or 4 years, and one would think, obviously this would be the ideal. I won't say the ideal situation. Everybody has their own view on what ideal is. But the point being is that once the NFL career is over with, that you use said, degree from college to do said job, late 20s, early 30s, for the rest of whenever you need to do as far as to earn a living. So I know I went down 3 different areas there, but you can respond anyway you think, Garrison. Go ahead.
All right. So first, I'm with it. I think we talked about earlier about how I'm okay with these guardrails because at this point we should be looking at this, like you said, as NFL light. It looks like like Ryan and I were saying earlier, it's an internship. It's a pay, like you're still in school, but you're getting paid to do a job. I also like this because if we're going to go down this route, I do believe you need salary caps, because at the end of the day, what the goal should be is to level out the playing field. That was the goal of NIL. That was what the goal was of the college football playoff, was to even out the field. Just recently, just this Monday, I talked about Texas Tech, and usually I was always against how colleges go out there and throw the money around. But at the end of the day, I thought to myself, Texas Tech's trying to win a championship.
Sure.
And I have to respect that. And so I do like that. I think it levels up the playing field, but I do think that, at the end of the day, I don't think the salary cap's going to be the same for every single program. It's going to be, I think it's going to be based off what your revenue is. But I do, so I think for schools like Ohio State, the Wolverines, Texas A&M, or Georgia, Bama's not one of them, but you'll still be fine, right? So that's that. I'm trying to remember your second question was.
No, it was sorry, I took you.
No, you're fine. No, dude, you're fine.
That's okay. No, I had mentioned about the players' money maybe being, about the percentage of NFL players that lose their money, go broke, and is that a concern for some of these student athletes who are getting money through NIL? Could that be a concern? And I don't know if you have a thought on that.
That is, I think that should be a concern. That's why we were talking with Katie, and I said I would assume that they're giving these kids some type of financial literacy classes or symposiums that they should probably be going through. The same way like rookies go to their rookie symposium, and they have all these guys talk to them about different things, whether that be going out and buying cars, spending all your money on things you should be spending your money on, like women. Like things like that, right? I was supposed they do that. I agree with that, because that can happen. We haven't really heard about it yet, but we have seen situations where players think they sign something, they think they're getting a certain amount of money, and they end up not getting that type of money. And so I think something like this is built out, like that we talked about earlier. it protects these players. And I think that's what's most important.
Yep.
Do you think that, people had talked about, the third part was that, the players not getting compensated before NIL. And I had mentioned that one of the things that I had seen as a compensation was a free ride to university, because you can put a dollar figure on a free ride to a university. It's very expensive. It's not cheap.
You're right.
To that point, with the average NFL career only being 3.5 to 4, well, 3 years, as Ryan was just mentioning, how much of that, though, is a benefit? And wouldn't you say, considering the NFL career is such a short period of time, that the student athlete at that time would have utilized that to prepare themselves for their late 20s, early 30s, so they've got something to be prepared for later on in life?
No, and
To that point,
go ahead, Ryan.
I just got a quick thought here. To that point, the scholarship argument. Kids have been getting scholarships to play sports for decades now.
Right.
The difference between what an Ohio State football player can do and what I can do, when I went to Ohio State, is I was able to work a job, to make money, to go ahead and spend on whatever it is that I want. Football players are spending 20 hours a week doing football-related activities, whether that's practice, film study, working out, and that's just on Ohio State's time. That's just what they're doing as far as what the football program requires. There are guys out there that are watching extra film, they're getting extra workouts in, and that's on top of studying and taking tests and actually attending classes. So add all that up, and where you don't have time to work a job. And there are some scholarships where basically it was written before they even got the stipend, where you weren't actually allowed to work another job because you were basically getting money from the university to attend school, and that was it. So,
Right.
I do think that these kids, since they don't have time to work a job, they should be getting compensated for doing essentially what their job is, which is playing football. Because with all of that time that they're doing, I mean, that they're working a part-time job. That's what they're doing.
Right. I see what
And
your point
in
is.
some instances, in some colleges, it's a full-time job because some kids, don't necessarily attend class. But that's my thought on that. What about you, Garrison?
Yeah, there's guys on the team who probably, I'm sure there's guys on the football team that probably aren't starters. They're probably not even in the second or third rotation, but they probably make some type of NIL money, right? Like Tywon Malone makes some type of NIL money. That's what it took to get him from Ole Miss. Yeah. And who knows if he goes into the draft at all. If he does, he still has a baseball career if he wants to pursue that. But the guy is still making some type of money, so you would hope, and he's getting, at the end of the day, you're still getting a degree. These guys are still student athletes, and the student still comes before the athlete. I've heard people say, "Oh no, they're not really students anymore." Well, if you don't pass your classes, you don't get to be on the grass. Mm-hmm. So, at the end of the day, that's. I think that again, like in the bill, they talked about like putting a lot of the investment into giving these guys student assistance and tutoring and all that. And though they get it now, I have no problem with pumping more money into that. That's all you're doing. All you're doing is pumping more. You're pumping money into their education. That's all you're doing. And a lot of guys come back and get their degree. So.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point, Garrison. Is that like after the fact they may come back down the road, get their degree, and then which is great. But I always heard that years ago that was something that Woody Hayes was always a strong proponent of, that his players come back and finish their degrees. One thing that I would say, and I don't know if you guys have already talked about this, I had always felt, and there was a theory about Ohio State being somewhat recession proof. Whether it be, because to be fair, the run of Ohio State being a fairly highly rated program probably goes all the way back to 1993, as I remember it. And I'm that old to remember it. So I guess I'm in the old head category. So that's really basically a 30-year run of being a relevant program. Yeah. Mediocrity. Yeah, exactly. And that was just, I would call mediocrity. I wouldn't say they were bad; they were just mediocre. But I would say that when you stop to think about it, from '93 to basically the present, which is a 30-year run, whether it be NIL, portal, no NIL, no portal, guys. I don't know if you guys have already given your thoughts on that, but I haven't heard them. But this program has been fairly, as they say, recession-proof to a certain extent.
You want to take that one first, Gary?
Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean that's outside Alabama. I mean, honestly, more than that, but there's been the most consistent program in college football in modern day history, and that's just the truth of the matter. And yeah, Ohio State is somewhat recession proof. Even when we hire a first time head coach, it doesn't really matter, does it? So it feels good. It feels good to be a Buckeye, doesn't it?
No, hey, we're not hiring a lot of Brady Hoax or Rich Rods. We
hire champions. We hire champions.
Can I get in one last one? I know you guys have a call. I was listening to an Ohio State show, and I think it was Boggs and Corey were talking about this, and I have some thoughts about this. And it's been said, Doug Maurice actually talked about it on his podcast with Bill Landis, that in many ways, Jim Tressel getting fired over Tattoo-Gate was a good thing. Ended up working out for the better. Now, I have some thoughts on that. I'll express mine. And then you can. Now, the way Corey had put it, he had said that it seemed like the trajectory under the last couple of years of Tressel wasn't heading in the right direction. He had said that, it's now I lived in 2010. That was a really good football team.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a legitimate top 5 football team. And I still think, and I know the SEC thing was a big thing at that time, but I didn't think that Auburn team was very good. And
the team wasn't. It was just one guy.
They were a one-man band. And, in Oregon, if they knew how to tackle a running back, might have won that game that night. I watched that national title game between Oregon and Auburn. And Ohio State had a bad first half against Wisconsin. And, that team could have been playing for the national title. And I don't think they get boat raced by 2010 Auburn. I really don't. I actually go ahead. I'm sorry.
Let's put some respect on Michael Dyer's name. Michael Dyer was the
look at these
MVP
greats.
in that game.
Look at these greats.
Yes. For the fact that do I think Jim Tressel getting fired was a good thing? I'm going to say no, but I understand why they would say it was. The reason why I say no is because him getting fired is basically why they didn't get a chance to play for a national championship in 2012. Because he recruited all those kids. Like the 2012 team.
That's right.
Pretty much all those contributors were Jim Tressel kids. And the whole reason why they weren't able to contribute is because Gene Smith's a fucking moron and decided to take the bowl ban, or decided not to take the bowl ban in 2011 when they were playing Florida as a 6-6 team. Tressel doesn't get fired. That season doesn't happen. And to your point, that 2011 team was still pretty darn good. And if they play for that 2012 national championship, that Notre Dame team had no chance. I mean, they got smoked against Alabama. Ohio State would have done similar things.
I read the
timeline. So they could have another national
whole
championship. It's I don't necessarily think it was a good thing, but obviously, I can't say it was bad getting Urban Meyer.
No, and listen, I've already said I think Urban's one of the maybe 5 or 10 greatest coaches in the history of college football, especially considering what he did to be able to win championships at multiple places. Because even if you go back and what he did at Utah with the Alex Smith teams. But I will say that, first of all, I think both Tressel and Urban Meyer took advantage of bad Big Tens. Because I don't know what you guys thought. The Big Ten wasn't very good for probably, what would you say, 6 or 7 years, guys? I would say
close to 10.
Would you say close to 10? I mean, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, in the mid to late 2000s, they were pretty damn good. I mean, 05 Penn State, they went undefeated. They could have played for a national title. In 06, Ohio State and Michigan were great. Wisconsin was another team that would, probably could have contended for a title at that time. It started getting a little bit worse as the turn of the decade happened. You know, in the early 2010s, they weren't great, but then by the middle of by Urban's heyday, you know, when in 2015, you know, you had Ohio State,
Yeah.
Michigan State. I mean, Michigan State made the playoff. I mean, there were still some pretty good teams, but they weren't as good as the SEC.
Yeah, well,
let's make that clear.
Yeah, I would say Urban's first 2 or 3 years, the conference was like. To be fair, the 24 games Urban won in a row, they didn't beat a good football team. I mean, they really didn't have a good win in that 24 game winning streak. And to Garrison's point, Tressel did leave him with a good roster. I mean, to leave him with, we talked about it before, to leave him with Braxton, to leave him with Carlos Hyde, to leave him with Devin Smith, to leave him with Shazier and Roby and those guys on defense. I mean, that's a lot of NFL talent. And, you know, I still think Tressel could have won a lot of games in 2012 and 2013 with the way the Big Ten was situated with that talent. So that's the point that I would have made on that Big Ten show. Now maybe eventually, if you're going to say into 2014, 2015, 16, maybe, you know, there would have been a dip or a decline there. I don't know, but I think at least because if Tattoo Gate never happens, the 11th season never goes sideways. And again, as I mentioned, I think 12, 13, maybe even into 14 with those recruits, I still think Tressel would have had the program at a really, really high level.
Yep.
That's your thoughts?
I agree, man.
Okay. I just wanted to air that out. I mean,
I agree with everything you just said. I'm 32 years old, so I'm young enough to watch Jim Tressel and remember those great years. My first year ever watching football was 2001. So and I actually understanding what I was watching. So But do I think the firing of Tressel? I'm gonna be honest. I think the firing of Tressel has elevated this program. I think the firing. Well, we didn't fire Urban, but we know it. Come on, we had to get him out of there. And I think that elevated the program also. So I mean, at least we're not like the team up north where we fire our coaches or let go of them. We hit college football purgatory. We don't do that. So
well, I will say though, to me, the only real missed opportunity. I guess 12 is a missed opportunity year. Although I never thought that team was the best team in the country. I have to be fair. I don't think the 12 team was the best team in the country. So I can't say that with. I don't think they play Alabama. They would have
played Notre Dame. People didn't think 2002 was the best team in the country. They won a national title.
To be fair, to me, the one missed opportunity year I'll always say under Urban was 15 because they brought back everybody. I always will say because I like his last two teams. Even if the 17 or 18 teams make the playoff, I don't know if I like their chances in that playoff. But
yeah,
because
right, we got some more callers.
All right,
yeah, we got some more callers we'd like to get.
Appreciate you, dude.
Always a pleasure. I probably went on too long, but I love you guys giving me the time. And
that's fine, man.
We need to get more Buckeye fans. That's all I need to know on the show for you guys.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Right. Appreciate it, David.
Go Bucks.
See you. Go Bucks. All right. You want me to go ahead and bring in Juju next? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, as I bring in Juju, I was like, oh, thank God. Well, I said it now, but I mean Juju. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Juju, what's going on?
What's the word, y'all? How y'all doing?
What's going on, man? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. You know, NIL talk. I just thought it was a great opportunity to bring up an all-time great coach, a coach that basically started the movement by himself. A coach that is just, he's near and dear to our soul, you know, like he had an inherited program that wasn't, you know, on the right track. And over his tenure, he eventually broke through and put Michigan, you know, back to where it's supposed to be, you know, before tragedy struck again in the following year. But anyway, I just think it's a great time.
Are you referring to the coach who now no longer can coach in college football because he's got a show cost? Is that who you're talking about?
Yes, I'm referring to the coach that stuck the middle finger to the NCAA and said, "Hey,"
and put it right back up his arse.
Hey, that man, he's never gonna coach again in that. He came to do what he's supposed to do, and he left. But anyway,
that was disgusting, Juju.
Like, look, single-handedly was the only one openly speaking on pay the players.
Single-handedly.
Yeah, I mean, who else other than Jim Harbaugh was advocating, sticking the middle finger up to them, doing it his own way, right? And saying pay the damn players. He's been saying it for years. Now to I can't remember this is the first call. I can't remember his name, but
Who, Caden or David?
I think it was Caden, because I came in here a little after that. But
Came in here spreading
him
this
saying that the
propaganda.
players, the whole NIL, these players 100% deserve it. The NCAA has been making money off of these kids' names for years. I think they deserve every single penny. And if it was me, I'm taking advantage of the market. I think everyone here would. You don't know how long you're going to play ball. And on top of that, I heard him say something about the Jordan brand. And you know what I'm saying? Like, I hope everyone knows. I know, Garrison, you know this, but everyone in the chat knows that Michigan has so much more to offer than a brand of Jordan. Like, the alumni is like the biggest alumni. I think
Yeah.
only
They can
Stanford.
hand you the University of Michigan can hand you agricultural
Yeah.
what those two Chinese people try to bring over here?
Look, a degree from Michigan,
The
bro.
agricultural little what was that, Ryan? The pathogen, yeah, you can get that. You
Hey.
yeah, that pathogen they brought over. They tried to
You
they
hear,
got COVID.
you hear
You
from
can get that in
every single recruit. Every recruit, it's not even football. The first thing they bring up life after football.
Oh,
It's one of the biggest alumni base in the NL portion. We're good.
You
We're good for.
you sound like a university commercial right now.
Hey, I'm just saying. He wanted to bring NIL, so I had to push. You know, narratives has to be pushed. And our head coach, former head coach, was at the head of that.
Well, how about this narrative? It doesn't sound like those NIL checks are going to clear with Underwood once things are all said and done here with the way the NIL approval process is going.
Yeah, I want to see how much
that?
that's guaranteed.
Yeah. Oh, I have no concern over the Underwood process. I mean, he's sponsored through Barstool. He's sponsored the Barstool. He has his own.
Hey, Juju, how much of your NIL do you think went to him? What percentage? Do you think the program's NIL went to him?
It wasn't the NIL.
Wait, is he giving a brown paper bag? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The last thing I'm concerned about with the connections that U of M has in the Midwest is any checks. Now they prep for months.
We know you guys aren't going to have any checks bounce. Okay, the question is, can you guys actually cash these checks? Can you cash them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned about the money aspect part of it, but a lot of people
can you cash into a championship?
Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah, I mean, within the next 3 years, I expect to be in contention and to win one.
Yeah. Okay.
Particularly,
do you think Bryce is going to leave with one?
Yeah, particularly his third year. I think that's the year that we push.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion. But a lot the whole NIL, bro, Bryce isn't even making as much as JJ was his third year, his final year.
I guarantee that's by pennies. I guarantee that's by pennies.
It was even confirmed by Sam, by Sam Webb. He's
plugged in. The person who knows everything, Sam Webb.
Yeah, he's plugged in more.
He knows enough, but he just tells some lies.
Well, of course. Who doesn't?
Let's.
Like Calvin Russell, but
who doesn't tell lies though? He never lied about Calvin. Yeah. He the one. Sam was actually the one who came out and said that Syracuse was ahead of us. When it comes to recruiting, he's out. I'm
not thinking about Sam. Who was the other guy?
You talking about EJ Holland?
No. It was a whole. I got
Isaiah.
No, I got. I have. Man! By the way, if you want to see some awesome, stupid content, go look at his second segment from yesterday. Go watch
it. I'm not gonna lie to you. That fucking look. I would never in my life trust Florida kid. Look, I'm fortunate enough to know a lot of shit that most people have to wait on, but obviously I don't know everything. I don't get all the intel, but I'm fortunate enough to do that. And that shit was a done deal. And then all of a sudden he's delayed, quote unquote, getting in traffic. AKA Fran was on the phone, and he shows up and changes his mind. But it's no hard feelings. Like our wide receiver class is good. Like I hope he excels. He's definitely gonna excel in that offense. Like a lot of people don't understand. I knew Syracuse was in it from the jump, but I just didn't know how serious it was until the end.
Very serious.
But this is why I keep going back to relationships do matter, and that's why a lot of times how Sharon Moore's landing these. He's a young black head coach, and he's.
Can I ask you a question, Juju? Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, and then we gotta get to the next caller. But I do want to ask you this question: If if you were getting recruited by Sharon Moore and Fran Brown, you were a young black kid, right? Who do you think you're gonna gravitate towards more? Fran Brown or Sharon Moore? Answer the question, Juju.
Hey, look, if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said Fran. But my head coach C Color.
Oh, I'm getting it.
Hey, hold on. Apparently, my head coach C Color now, bro. He recruiting like. I'm just saying.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon, bro.
All right, bro. I'm gonna be on the other show if you can catch it.
All right, man. He knows he's picking Fran Brown.
Yeah.
Let's go. Hey, Tim, you
what's
there?
going on? Yeah, Tim, you there? Oh, might not be.
Okay.
You might have to go back to Tim.
Yep. Well, Jackson, are you there, bro?
I'm here. How you gents doing tonight?
Awesome, man. Yourself?
I'm doing all right. Just getting some things rocking and rolling. Oh man.
What do you got for us?
What you got for the people?
Well, I'm just ready to see that Ohio State-Texas matchup, especially from the Ohio State Buckeyes Live episode from Tuesday where I saw Chip Brown with the Buckeyes Live crew. I thought that was a pretty good one. It made me think about, some of the past games where they were talking a little bit about 05 and 06 and much more, and a little bit about last year. That was a wild finish.
Go ahead, Garrison, with that.
I missed that. I was Jackson. I was on your channel stuff looking for your name stuff. Is it in the SEC? Wait, Jackson, repeat that last part. I heard the first. Repeat that last part.
I was excited about giving a look back on the Ohio State-Texas matchup in the semifinals last year. That was a wild finish because it was like, holy Toledo.
I'll tell you what, man. When that game was happening, and I in my mind, Jackson, I have these weird rivalries with other programs. Alabama's one of them. Georgia's one of them. Clemson is, and Texas is. I've seen, I'm 32, and I've seen Texas play Ohio State 4 times, which is a lot. Like, people don't understand that actually is a lot to do in 20 years between Ohio State and Texas, especially when 2 of those games have been. We did a home and home, and then playoff. And then was it the Sugar Bowl, Colt McCoy, when you guys won the game at the end, when they won the game at the end. So Texas Ohio State, I think is something that's really fun to watch. But when that game was going on, I was so impressed by our defense that day. Jermaine Matthews had to step in. Denzel Burke was hurt, so he played that game, and Jermaine did exactly what I thought he would do, which is lock down half the. A lot of people are going to learn Jermaine Matthews' name this season. I think people forgot he was a freshman All-American from Ohio State. Same as Denzel Burke and Igbenogson were. That's actually pretty cool, crazy.
Yeah.
But when that play happened at the end, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember what I did. I don't remember what I did. So I have no idea how to get that feeling back or how to remember that. But I was frozen when Jack Sawyer did that, and it's because and I was happy because I take a lot of pride in my program. I take a lot of pride in Ohio State football, and to see that season last year where I think we led the nation in red zone defense and goal line defense. I think that year we had 6 or 7 goal line stances.
Category.
Yeah, I think we had like 6 or 7 goal line stances that season. And so like when even when Texas got to the 2-3 yard, I think the 3-yard line, I had a lot of confidence in my team that we were not going to give up any points right there. And just to see it come to fruition and see like Jack Sawyer of all people running down that sideline.
It was great.
I mean, like, regardless of
it brings back some good memories, man.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, regardless of who won the semifinals last season, it's gonna be an incredible rematch going into week 1 of 2025. I mean, it's like you end the year with the team that beat you in the playoffs, and then you start the year off with the team that beat you in the playoffs. Get a little redemption or something like that. As for the Buckeyes, they're gonna be looking to show Texas who's boss. But honestly, I'll know who I'm picking by the time it gets to week 1 for sure.
Where are you leaning?
55 to 59% Ohio State at the moment.
Well, I'll say this. It's a home game. It's the first game of the year. Texas is going to come out with a lot of motivation, considering that they're the last team that, they faced, and Ohio State kept them from playing for a national title. So I think they're going to come out firing. I think if Ohio State's going to drop one this year, I think that's the game that I'm pointing to, because you also have a first-time offensive coordinator, brand new quarterback, brand new running back, brand new tight end. Like, you got a lot of moving parts on the offensive side of the ball. You got a brand new defensive coordinator and a brand new defensive line on the defensive side. So I do think it's going to be a close game. I don't know what my score is going to be, and I don't know exactly what my pick is going to be yet either. I know Garrison's rather confident in Ohio State's chances of winning. My confidence is high. I just don't know if it's I don't know if it's they're definitely going to win kind of confidence.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited about seeing it, and that's basically my number 1 non-conference game for 2025.
Should be.
So,
I mean, I think it is.
Should be, buddy.
The top game.
Yeah. It's gonna be fireworks. It's gonna be fireworks. Don't you guys have a big early game or no? Is it Wisconsin?
Yeah, we got Florida State on.
Oh, you guys are gonna kill them.
I was gonna say I wouldn't call that a big game. They stink.
Well, I'll be watching it either way, so it's like, my job. But
got anything else for us, Jackson?
Yeah, tomorrow night there's going to be a magical commitment watch party live stream reaction on Alabama, Florida, Ohio State, and Texas A&M, and the recruiting channels from the Voice of College Football Network, as each of us will be going over our take on where KJ Ford is going to be committing to. He is going to commit to one of those 4 schools. Alabama came in late. Alabama's coming in hot. Does he commit to Bama? Does he commit to Florida? Does he commit to Ohio State? Texas A&M? It's all right here with me, Lynn, Garrison, and friends, all right there on each of the team channels and the recruiting channels.
You might have to add a school to that to those final based off of the on-3 projections now. So we'll see how that goes. Either way, Ohio State doesn't look great for Ohio State, but yeah, still tune into that tomorrow.
There you go. Let's get all the team channels to 10,000, man.
We're almost there, man. We're almost there.
There you go.
I think we're close to 92 right now, 9,200 right now. So,
oh man, y'all ought to do like a kind of like what Michigan was doing, having the Kenneth Grant thing for
this thing.
Yeah,
that thing.
Yeah, that old thing. You should definitely have something like that for beating Miami and Michigan. Like that would be cool right there. So that'll definitely help. But I will say though, it's always a fun week tuning in to the magic that Garrison and Ryan bring Monday nights and Thursday nights, all right here on Ohio State at the Voice of College Football. And with that, I give out a Roll Tide Roll and a OH.
IO.
Good talking to you, man.
Hey, Jackson.
Good talking to you, gentlemen.
All right,
All
we're
right.
gonna go ahead and bring Tim in here.
Yeah, and guys, we're gonna do like 3 to 5 minutes. We gotta burn through these. I'm sorry.
we got things to do later.
But we appreciate you guys, everyone. If you haven't already,
So
please
Ganton,
hit that like button.
So who is that Penn?
Yeah.
So who is that Penn State fellow now? So now since we know it's not you.
I don't know why people would ever think it would be you to begin with, Garrison.
Dude, I'm much too proud to hide behind
yesterday,
Yeah.
I had watched it. The Clifford and Max show that Penn State fella. He typed in a question and they read it. Then few minutes later, another question had popped up, and this one your name was on it. So that's telling me that that must be somebody else, and not you. Because there was some rumors going on around. You might have a fake Penn State account that trolling
Yo, man,
people.
I told you, man. I am much. Listen, I love my own takes so much that I don't need to hide behind anything. And Johnny talked about this for everybody. Johnny said Harrison don't gotta do that. And plus I love taking victory laps, and if I do it behind a Penn State page, I can't. No. I love my victory laps. I run an extra couple if I have to. So no. And like I said, if I did do one, I'd probably do like Rutgers or Grand Valley State or something like that. I wouldn't do Penn State.
So,
that's too obvious.
So what's the victory laps?
My victory laps, me saying that within 3 years, Ryan Day was going to win a national championship. He did it in year 2. Another victory lap was last year when I said your guys' offensive line was going to suck. I was right about that. Said your defense wouldn't be top 10. I was right about that. What else? Oh, I said Donovan Edwards wouldn't get drafted. I was right about that.
That's right.
I'm right about. I'm wrong sometimes. I had Ohio. I was
wrong about ending the losing streak, but
yeah, I said fire and brimstone, and I was wrong. And don't worry, because you know I'm gonna say this year. Same thing.
I'm gonna say the same thing in November. That's right.
We gotta move on to Burks real quick, man, because I'm sorry, we gotta burn through these. I'm sorry, Tim, but
okay.
But are you going to Boys College football for Michigan?
Yeah.
All right, man. I'll see you over there, brother. You have a good night. All right.
Go Bucks.
See you, Tim.
And go blue.
That's right.
My man, I appreciate that. That's an unbiased person right there if I ever saw one. All right, man. Burks.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up, man? What's
up,
on,
partner?
How's it doing, my ally? Yeah.
Oh,
you already know the
great.
Burks and Garrison alliance, man. Greatest alliance ever made. Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. No, I have to show my face one day. I think next week I'll show my face. So, because it's really, it's not respectful that I have not shown my face yet. If we're gonna be business partners, man, come on, dude.
Man.
Yeah.
Come on, man. If we're gonna take down another Michigan channels, we gotta.
Yeah, of course, man. We need to destroy
me.
2 Michigan channels. They cannot be existed because all these unbiased, all these biased takes. All right, so I want to have a discussion really quickly. So, as being a Michigan fan, I want to be like the smartest Michigan fan, right? Like I do not like to be biased. I hate being biased, right? Like that's one thing and that's why a lot of people don't like me in my fan base, right? Is because I'm too unbiased, right? And there's this discussion that's kind of making me a little I'm gonna just say it, but the Aiden Hutchinson and Chase Young discussion, who's better in college? In college, right? I'm not saying in high school. I'm not saying in NFL. I truly believe Chase Young is better than Aiden Hutchinson in college. Do you guys agree with that?
100%.
He owns the Big Ten. He owns the Big Ten single season sacks, and did missing 2 games?
Yeah.
He missed 2 games
because of Mike
broke the record. Yeah.
It's crazy why Michigan fans are saying Aiden Hutchinson's better. Not only that, dude, you two, but his sophomore year he had 10 sacks, right? 10.5
Yeah.
sacks, I'm pretty sure, right?
10.5, yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
with Aiden Hutchinson, listen, Aiden Hutchinson, he here's the thing: Chase Young reached his peak earlier, like faster than Aiden Hutchinson did, and that's the issue. Chase Young is the better college player. Not only that, he won. He like they say, like he could have gotten
but
20
he
sacks.
had bad injuries. He had some terrible injuries because he was
Yeah,
he was rookie of the year, wasn't he?
He
Or was he not
was.
that?
Young's also. I mean, Chase Young was also a Heisman finalist.
Yeah.
That year. So the collegiate thing, I don't think is an argument. Now, I think Hutchinson's been proven to be a clear better NFL player, but in college, I don't think he's close.
That's what I'm saying, and I just don't understand why my fan base is saying Aiden Hutchinson's way better than Chase Young in college. It makes no sense.
No, it doesn't. Like Chase Young is a different type of athlete. He's a different type of, and I think Aiden's a sick athlete too.
Dude,
but
and another take too that I can't get over is the JJ McCarthy's better than Justin Fields, CJ Stroud, or Troy Smith. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, dude.
No, dude, I think that it's funny. I remember one time we had a discussion with some Ohio State fans, and I asked, and it was the point of why you wouldn't pick JT Barrett because everyone knows how I feel about him. But I was like, I think when people talk about who the best Ohio State quarterback, I think people forget that Justin Fields threw 40 touchdowns and 1 interception in 12 games. Like that's insane. That's insane. And it's not that. Of course, he wasn't running like this. He wasn't running as complicated as an offense as we do with Justin Fields. As we did with CJ Stroud. It was more slant, bubble screen, fly routes, and he was bombing it down the field. But he was very good at it.
Quarterback strength. When you got an arm like that, it's the offense you run.
Yeah, no, and not only that, too. Like, I don't even think JJ McCarthy's the best quarterback in Michigan history. I think personally, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but Devin Gardner is better. Do you guys agree with that or no? Like, better college QB.
Devin Gardner was really good.
Denard Robinson. I'm an idiot.
I think Devin Gardner is better than him. I think Devin Gardner.
I'd be too stupid to say.
I think if Devin was on a better team, we would think differently of him. And I'm saying, and I'm a little biased because I got to see him play through high school, but no, I think that was a good player on a basketball team.
But don't you guys agree that Denard Robinson's better than JJ McCarthy? Do you agree on that or no?
No.
I would still probably take McCarthy.
I'm taking JJ.
Really?
I'm taking JJ.
Dude, I'm actually shocked you guys said that.
I can't.
Denard could really throw the football. McCarthy had a lot of he was able to hit wide open guys, and they didn't really ask him to do a lot. It was very clear Harbaugh didn't trust him to make tough throws and do a lot of things that you're going to need to do at the NFL level. But the throws that they did ask him to do, he was able to hit them. Robinson couldn't even hit those throws. He was just a freak athlete who could make a bunch of guys miss, and he had a strong arm so he could make the deep throws. That was pretty much Robinson's game. I think McCarthy was better.
Yeah, but Denard
I don't agree with Garrison's Gardner take though.
But dude, Denard Robinson can take his team. He can do everything, man. I'm telling you, dude. If they need him to make a play, he brought the team on his back. If they made him do so much, and plus you gotta understand he was an All-American, right? He can run. He can throw. Yes, he did not have a good old line of receivers, but I'm letting you know right now, Denard Robinson was on that Michigan team. I'm telling you,
he can't throw the ball.
Yeah, he can, dude. Bro, look at that Notre Dame.
No, you know what? You're right.
Yes.
My nephew can throw a ball too.
I don't know. I'm really surprised you guys chose JJ McCarthy over Denard.
I do.
You guys are JJ McCarthy haters.
Listen, dude, he wanted to be a Buckeye. Ryan Day chose to go another way. If JJ McCarthy was a Buckeye, we probably win a national championship, maybe 2. That's
really. Nah, he wouldn't beat CJ Stroud. Come on, man.
I mean the following year.
Oh, Kyle.
But he was never going to play for CJ Stroud. That's hell.
No, CJ Stroud, in my opinion, is the greatest Ohio State quarterback. That's my opinion. Just the way he can throw.
I'm no problem with that.
Yeah.
But all right, Burks, we're gonna move on, man, and get Jordan in here. But
Yeah, of
thanks for
course.
calling in, bro, and you have a good night.
Yeah, you too, man. I'll reveal my
Yeah, see you,
face
Bergs.
soon. Don't worry. Yeah, see you, man. Ryan, take care. Yeah.
See ya.
By the way,
All right.
just to Burks' point, Denard Robinson, he had an 18-11 touchdown to interception ratio in 2010 when he was an All-American, and had a 20-15 touchdown to interception ratio in 2011. Just throwing that out there.
That could never.
55% completion percentage, 62.5% completion percentage. He actually got worse as a passer each year in terms of completion percentage and yards.
He can never be my quarterback.
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and bring in our final caller.
What's going on, Jordan?
What's going on, y'all? How y'all doing?
Good, man. What's going on with you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm chilling, man. I just got back from the gym. I don't really have any topics to discuss, but I can talk about anything. I know, Garrison, I told you I was going to call in last week, but I was kind of busy.
Well, let me ask. I want to ask you a question. So, actually, and Ryan, I want to get you on this too. So, on Monday, I gave my position grid. I'm sorry. I was talking about Carnell Tate. Okay.
Okay.
And so his freshman year, and honestly, I forgot that he's a true junior. I honestly forgot that. Yeah. But his freshman year, 18 receptions, 267 yards and a touchdown. Last year, as the third option, 52 receptions, 733 yards, 4 touchdowns. What do you think he gets this year? I have him somewhere around 1,167 touchdowns.
I think he might score a few more touchdowns than I think. I think he might get to 8. I don't know about that yardage total. Just because I actually think they're going to spread the ball around a little bit more this year. Just because there's going to be a lot of attention on Jeremiah. But then I know we both love Max Clare, and I'm hoping that they give him more opportunities to catch the football than we have with tight ends in the past. And Brendan Ennis and Mylon Graham, they're going to play a lot. Both of those guys are going to play a lot.
And Quincy are going to get in the field.
Yeah. So I think Tate's probably closer to the 950 range, 960. If he does clear 1,000, I think it's just barely. And I see 8 touchdowns. I can see him getting 70 catches or so. I think his reception output increases too.
Maybe he may need the playoffs to go over 1,000.
Yeah.
I think so. I'll say this. I agree with what he said. I do think they're going to spread the ball around more. I think, again, we can all agree on this. If teams are smart, they will do what they can to limit Jay Smith as much as possible. At the end of the day, he's still going to get his. I do think I can see a path where Carnell gets more yards than last year because more people are going to gravitate towards Smith and Claire. But at the same time, it all depends on Sain's development. And this might be a hot take because Ryan, I'm a Michigan fan, by the way. But this is in my opinion. I think that Max Clare could be top 3 in receptions on that team because again, we all know tight end is the QB's best friend, and you have Sain who, regardless of how good or bad he is, he's going to ramp up as the year goes on. It's just a matter of if it's going to go up or down. So I think Max Clare is definitely going to get his. Obviously, Smith is going to get his. But Tate is not a slouch. Tate is what, like 6'4"?
He loves those Max Clare takes.
Well, it's because it's
I have Max Clare finishing top 3.
Yeah, it's when you have good tight end play. You look at Coastal Loveland, you look at Tyler Warren, you look at all these guys. Texas had Sanders. I forgot his first name, but Sanders a couple years ago. When you have a good tight end and you have just one wide receiver, Brock Bowers, that opens up your entire offense. Let alone add a run game to that. So it just depends on Sain's development. But I do agree with Garrison 100%. I think Max Clare will be top 3 in receptions. I can see a path where Carnell Tate has more yards. You said he had over 700. I can see a path where he has over more than that. I could also see a path. How many touchdowns did Jay Smith have last year?
Tate had 4.
I feel like he had 4 receiving touchdowns. Jeremiah Smith?
Yeah. Oh, no, I thought you said Tate. No, Jeremiah Smith, he had 15, I think.
Okay, I'm about to say. I can see a path where he either hits that or goes under. Because again, I do think he's going to get hits. He's obviously a big time red zone threat. But
yeah,
I'm a former coach.
He had 15 receiving touchdowns and he had 1 rushing touchdown.
So I look at it like this: if you are smart, you are going to do whatever you can to take that man away, as long as you have the personnel to do it. So I can see a world where he gets his yards, but he may have 15, 14, 13 touchdowns. But he still could be the best receiver in the nation.
So check this out, because like I have this here. So I was going to like just go talk about Cardinal Tate. So in the Nebraska game, he led because I don't know if you remember that game, but Ohio State probably should have lost that game. They should have lost. No, Ohio State should have lost Nebraska that day. They should have lost Nebraska. But in that game, Cardinal Tate led. Honestly, we probably won because of him. He had 4 receptions for 102 yards in that game. And then the Texas game, JJ's taking him. He's gone. He's out the game. I'm gonna be honest. It's hilarious.
3 yards.
Yeah, it's the only game of the year I think you can't find a highlight of him. And so that happens, and for some odd reason, I think Emeka had a few good plays in the first drive, but outside of that, he was non-existent. And then Tate comes up with 7 for 87, and it wasn't just like him getting short passes. Like he was out there, like two-tapping out there on the sidelines, getting open everywhere.
He's not a slouch, man.
Yes, I don't know why. I heard a good comparison yesterday. I think it was Richie. Who was it that gave this comparison the other day? I think it might have been Rod. It was either you or Rod, and they said that Cardinal Tate reminds them of Michael Jenkins. And I was like, he's a sick because I think people forget that Cardinal Tate is a 6'3", 190-pound receiver. He ain't small.
Yeah, he's not small.
He's a possession guy. He's always open. Cardinal, I got one for you. He makes difficult passes. He makes difficult catches too. Like that catch against Northwestern. Like that was different.
Jordan? What's your comparison?
I got one for you. I can see a little bit of T. Higgins in him. Right? A tall, lanky receiver who can run, a good route runner, good hands. Like Cardinal Tate is not a slouch by any means.
I thought he was going to leave last year. I thought he was going to transfer last year for a while.
He is not no slouch, man. Like he could easily be a number 1 receiver anywhere else in the country. Anywhere.
With ease.
So it just depends. It just depends on saying. It depends on if I could be honest with you, and maybe this is just me, I think a lot of teams in the Big Ten low key are going to be very similar. For example, I think Penn State's going to lead on the run game. I think Michigan's going to lead on the run game. I think Ohio State's going to lead on the run game. Oregon might be a little bit more open. But even Washington, they got a dual threat quarterback. They're going to be Jonah Coleman.
I think that's going to be a top 4 offense in the Big Ten. I think.
Illinois is going to be good too, but they're going to be slinging a little bit more.
I'm still not sold on Illinois as far as I'll put it this way. I think they're definitely a solid Big Ten team. I love Brett Bielema, always have. I don't think they're there yet. I'm pretty sure they lost their starting tailback.
Have you seen your schedule? Their schedule stinks.
It's a 2-game schedule. It's Indiana and Ohio State.
But that's my point.
Yeah, even if they lose both games, they can still get in the playoff.
But I mean,
I had them at 10-2.
I'll see it.
I had them at 10. And the reason is because I think running the ball is never going to be a problem for Brett Bielema.
No,
Brett Bielema's going to be able to run the ball. And I learned a lot about that team last year against South Carolina, and they bring back most of that defense. I learned a lot about that team, and then I also realized that Brett Bielema is still that guy coaches football.
That boy can coach, man.
He had whatchamacallit in a blender that day. What's South Carolina's head coach? Is that Beamer?
Beamer.
Beamer in a blender.
I also think Illinois has the most returning production of any college school this season.
It's number 1. It's number 1.
Yeah.
Over 80% of their team came back of the production.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a veteran team.
Yeah, I'm just still not sold on them though. Like when we talking about playoff teams, like when
you sold on Indiana,
like this. No.
Okay.
I watched them against Ohio State. You know what I mean? And that's I took them to cover against Notre Dame. I didn't think they were going to win that game at all. I will say this: I thought it was going to be closer. I think how they played towards the end. Obviously, they were playing catch up, but I thought that was how they were going to play. I think they kind of shit the bed in that game. But
Well, I think that's probably what Illinois is going to do. They're going to lean on their weak schedule. They're probably going to make the playoff. They're probably going to lose in the first round. That's kind of how I see them.
that's what I can see. Yeah.
Yeah.
If that comes to fruition, but back to Garrison's point real quick about Washington. I'm in wait and see. I love Jet Fish too. He can coach his ass off as well. I'm in wait and see with the defense. I'm not really worried about the offense. But I mean, we in the Big Ten, so you can look at, for example, Washington. They go on the road last year against Iowa, got shut down. You know, and I understand. You know, a completely different quarterback, Will Rogers, and then
but Iowa can do that to you. It happens.
They can, but I mean, they can, but. I think Washington had a pretty rough against Indiana too, didn't they?
Yeah,
they had a lot of rough offensive performances. But Rodgers, let's just say, was not the best quarterback.
Well, they got that transfer from North Dakota State, right?
Oh,
South Dakota State.
South Dakota State. Iowa did.
Oh yeah, the QB.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see with Iowa.
I think it's gonna be a fun year in the Big Ten. I'm really looking, especially at the middle, because I really want to see what Michigan is. If they take the next step at quarterback, that being
having a guy
Aiden Child. I think if he takes that extra step, bro, that's gonna help that team out a lot. Because I don't know what that defense is gonna look like, but.
It's going to look bad.
And I think that the wide receivers will be a little bit better this season. I think they have one of the top 10 receivers in college football.
Hey, Nick Marsh.
Nick Marsh. If Aiden Childs can take that next step, it's going to help that team tremendously. Because I think they have a good coach. I do think that Smith is a good coach.
I agree. You know what's messed up? I think Michigan State will start to ramp up after he leaves, if that makes sense. Childs. Because that's when they'll kind of get to recruiting and, kind of a little bit more stable and things of that nature, which sucks because you don't know who's going to come in behind him. But Smith got an uphill battle. The Big Ten is only getting tougher. And Michigan is recruiting at a consistent level now. So that's going against them, let alone all the other schools they got to compete against, Notre Dame and all these other regional schools. So I don't know. We'll see.
What'll help is
I agree.
The unbalanced nature of these Big Ten schedules, now that the Big Ten is so bloated, now it's so big, you can have years like you can have IU last year where they only play one good team on their schedule and still make the playoff. Like Michigan State's going to find years like that. Quite frankly, a lot of the
Oregon has a
lot of the mid-tier Big Ten schools are going to be able to do that. I think it's kind of the same deal. I mean, Michigan's schedule this year is pretty soft as well.
I don't think so. I disagree. I think that schedule is harder than people are putting on.
Dude, Oklahoma's bad. We've talked about this. Oklahoma's
bad. When y'all see John Mateer in that offense running around like crazy with Jay and Ott and those 4 wide receivers and that defense hitting people in the skull, you guys are gonna be amazed. And because listen, man, I'm of the mindset like a USC and an Oklahoma are gonna get it right eventually. They're gonna get it right eventually. And now you're seeing USC doing what they're doing, and then listen, it's a show me.
What exactly is USC doing
besides
gathering
you want me?
3-star
I don't care. Dude, I don't care who they were playing. That guy John Mateer ran for 197 yards in a football game. I haven't seen a quarterback do anything like that, bro. Let me tell you what he looks like out there, bro. And this is no cap, if you look at the stats and the percentages and all that, I'm not joking with you. He looks like Braxton Miller out there. That I'm not sitting here saying he's like he jukes like no, bro. Bro, how many quarterbacks do you look at put up 197 rushing yards in the game?
Look at Washington's QB in the bowl game.
Bro, he looks like I'm not saying they are Braxton Miller, but they have the same skill set and where, dude, they're gonna throw somewhere between 58 and 61%, but they're gonna run out the man. They're gonna run on you. And if you think that with Jade out on that team and John Mateer not gonna move that ball, those receivers they have, mind you, people forget they lost their top 6 last year in one season, which is impossible to do. Come on.
I'll put it to you like this. I'll speak of Oklahoma.
I'm a believer. You know I am, Ryan. I'm a boomer soon.
Yeah.
I know you are. I am not on that same level. Their defense is a disaster. Also,
They had injuries last year.
That defense, I'm not worried about the D. If there's anything I'm not worried about, really, I mean, even last year, the defense was solid for the most part all year. But I'm gonna say this: they definitely had a lot of injuries at wide receiver. They definitely had a lot of injuries on the O line. I am a Mateer fan also. He really is a true dual threat. I like Ott as well. I'm not really worried about their receivers. I'm sure they'll have guys, but I don't really know how I feel about Oklahoma yet until I see them. But it will be very interesting to see Mateer versus Michigan's defense because last year when he played solid defenses, I mean, he's going to put his numbers up because of the offense he was in. But for example, I watched the whole entire Boise State game, and that man got shut down. And
well,
he has his OC, by the way.
You're right.
He has his OC.
You do, yeah, you do. And that's what I'm saying. That's big. That's big.
I'm gonna say the same thing I said about Will Howard last year, everybody. Bro, last year, the year before at Kansas State, Will Howard was playing with lint, used condoms, and paper clips. Bro, this is not Washington State. This is Oklahoma. Like, well, come on. He's saying it's.
And I'll say this real quick, and now I'll get ready to go. I think y'all was talking about it with I think Juju. I think he said the Michigan's championship windows in a couple of years. And I've been of the thought process. I think they could. I'm not going to say obviously they're going to win it all this year because I don't think there's a clear number one team. But I think
that was Jordan. I need you to say it. Just go ahead and say it. Just
no,
say
listen what I'm saying. I think this is the year because, for example, people talk about next year. Look at next year's schedule compared to Michigan's schedule this year. Michigan's schedule this year is no cakewalk by any means, but next year is even worse. And then you lose a lot of the guys on the defense, and then you lose Dominic Zavala, the best kicker in the nation. Defense and special teams travel everywhere, and those will keep you in any game for the most part. So I look at Michigan like this: if we ended the year how we did last year with the worst offense, I thought John O'Korn was the worst quarterback I've ever seen. I'm not gonna put on Davis Warren. That was the worst offensive production. I've never given up on the Wolverines in my life against Ohio State. I don't care how bad they were. I gave up immediately when I walked into my parents' house to watch that game, and my dad was full of joy, full of glee, and I couldn't believe what happened. But I think if Bryce, go ahead.
No, real quick, I'm looking at your 2026 schedule.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's not easy. I've seen it. It's not easy.
Oh my god!
And people are saying that's the year. But I'm like,
that this year is a cakewalk compared to that.
This year is it, bro. If Bryce,
I truly think this year their only tough team is Ohio State on their schedule. I really believe
this is disgusting.
I don't agree with that one.
Schedule. And then the 22nd.
We go to USC. Who else we play?
USC's
no. 26. You guys have
not an easy game though.
But it's Oklahoma, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan State, Penn State, UCLA, Ohio State, and Oregon back to back. So all we need from Bryce, because and Michigan is perfect for a quarterback of his talent because we lean on the run game so much. And as long as we have other guys around him step up to some degree, literally to some degree, we have the defense and special teams to compete with anybody. So I have faith. I honestly believe this. If we don't make the playoffs this year, that's a massive disappointment. Whatever happens from there, happens. But if we do not make the playoffs this year, that's a massive disappointment, in my opinion. Before we let you go, I want to let you know that I heard Steve D say about a month or so ago that he believes that at the end of this year, the conversation surrounding Bryce Underwood will be if he was in this upcoming draft, if he would be the number one player taken. So when I hear things like this or like
excuse me,
he said that, and
I don't know what that is.
Steve Dees, he does the Michigan podcast. It's a really popular Michigan podcast. He has and then he actually has our owner Steve Steve on there, but no, Mark. I'm sorry, Mark. But I've heard that my guy Sam from College Football with Sam has Michigan going 10-3. No, 10-2, making the Big Ten championship and making the playoffs. Ohio State missing the playoffs, actually. I I've
A
heard
Big
other.
Ten team's not making the Big Ten championship with 2 losses.
Listen,
Let me say that.
I think a lot of you, I'm not gonna say you, Jordan, but everyone in the media outside of Sam Webb is cashing checks that I don't know if Bryce's ass is gonna be the cash.
Whoa,
And
look at it like this.
like Sam Webb said a 4-5 loss season could happen. Like he's that honest.
Hell no. I don't know. It
I
could
think it
happen
could
100%. But hell no. I think that would. I think we have too much everywhere besides, let's say receiver for us to have more than 3 losses, bro. In my honest opinion.
I think
we have
3
more than
losses
3 losses,
is probably
bro.
what you're looking at.
I think 3 losses where you're looking at.
Well, see, you know me, I got faith in my Wolverines, man. So until I see them play and until I see the deficiencies, I'm gonna take us against everybody.
And Adam had faith in Eve.
but real quick on Underwood, I think it's just because, for example, you look at a Jeremiah Smith, you look at a Trevor Lawrence. I know Justin Fields kind of had to wait a little bit, but some guys, when you watch them at their positions and they're a top ranked player, you just know, like a Walter Nolan. I think that it kind of took him a little while because, I think he played a little bit at A&M as a freshman, but there's a lot of guys who are highly ranked who you kind of know that they're just going to produce. It all depends on the situation they go into and the talent around them. I'm not going to sit here and say Bryce Underwood is going to be number 1 next year. But for example, when you talk about Jeremiah Smith, you have data to look at. So if somebody were to say that, I can see that. Also, I'm gonna throw out Nick Nash was underrated last year at wide receiver. I'm gonna just throw that out there. But I'm not gonna sit up here and say Bryce is going to be a number 1 pick.
It's a crazy statement.
I haven't seen him play in the big house yet, so I don't know. I can't say that. So
you get to see him play in Norman. I don't think that's going to be a cakewalk for him.
Hey, I'm going to the New Mexico game, so we'll see. We'll see how they look there.
Hey, watch out for those. That's the Lobos, right?
They had so many people lead that team, bro. Yeah, so many people.
It's like the worst program ever, bro. It's the worst program ever. Worse than Eastern Michigan.
But hey, I appreciate y'all. God bless. As always, Garrison, my man Ryan. It was nice talking to y'all. I'll try to call in every now and again. I just like to talk ball. I can talk about.
No, you're one of the good ones. You're one of the good Wolverines. There's not a lot of you.
You already know what it is with me, bro. I'm not waiting for all that drama. I was going to talk football, bro.
All right, bro. You have a good night.
See you. All right. Got anything else here before we wrap up?
Ryan Day's the GOAT. That's all I got.
That's right. We will be back on Monday. When I say we, Garrison will be back. I will actually be out of town on Monday, so I will see you guys next on Thursday, a week from today. And we'll have Garrison will have some recruiting news to talk about. I know Ford's got his commitment tomorrow. I know Jackson talked about that stream, so go ahead and join him.
I'm gonna sit
Garrison. Yeah. I don't think it's going to end too well here for us, but we'll see.
If Oklahoma gets him in cool, I'm gonna bust a gasket.
It's going to be Oklahoma. It's going to be bad. And then Deuce doesn't look great either. That's a bummer. He's not going to come.
No, I'll tell you what. By the way, I do have this down here, and just tell me how you feel about this before you leave. The the 3 most important recruits left: JB Shabazz, Emmanuel Ruffin, Braylon Womack. And that's basing off of the fact that I don't think we're getting Deuce.
No, we're definitely not getting Deuce. The defensive line recruiting is a massive issue.
I don't know if you saw that.
Bad things I can say about Larry.
Did you see what Juck posted? Like the difference in recruiting ranking?
I'm not sure if I did.
It's like in the first few years of Larry Johnson, it was like ranked. It was 52, right? Like the normal rank of our combined defensive line and edges. Now it's like 352, something like that. It was something. It was something outrageous. It was an outrageous number. It was outrageous.
He's falling off a cliff on that. But in any regard, Garrison will be here to talk to you guys on Monday. I will see you on Thursday. OH.
Ayo.